The rain came down sideways that night, hard enough to sting bare skin, and somewhere in the dark, a whistle screamed across the training field. Private Maya Torres didn't see him coming. 1 second she was sprinting through the mud toward the wire obstacle, lungs burning, boots sinking with every stride, and the next, a shoulder slammed into her ribs and the world turned sideways. She hit the ground hard, barbed wire biting into her sleeve, her cheek pressed into cold mud, and for one terrifying heartbeat, she couldn't tell if the pain in her arm was from the fall or from something worse. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. Maya had wanted this since she was 14 years old, watching her older brother march across a graduation stage in dress greens, while their mother cried into a folded flag from a war that took their father. She'd promised herself she wouldn't just survive the army. She'd earn every inch of it, the hard way, with nothing handed to her. Tonight was supposed to be another line she crossed off that promise. Night infiltration course. Barbed wire, mud, sirens, and floodlights slicing through freezing rain. Simple in theory. Crawl low, stay under the wire, don't stop moving. She had done it a dozen times in daylight. Darkness changed everything. The soldier who hit her, Sergeant Daniel Cole, 2nd Squad, a broad-shouldered instructor's aide with a reputation for pushing recruits past what they thought they could take, hadn't meant to knock her into the wire. He'd been running the perimeter, correcting stragglers, his eyes on a recruit veering off course to her left. He didn't see Maya cut back until it was too late, and by then his body was already committed, already colliding with hers in the dark and mud. It wasn't malice. It was momentum. But knowing that didn't make the wire hurt any less when it tore through her sleeve and opened a thin red line across her cheek. For a moment, neither of them moved. The rain kept falling, relentless, drumming against their helmets, and around them the other recruits kept crawling, kept moving because that was the rule. Nobody stops for you, not out here. Somewhere behind the floodlights, drill instructors watched with arms crossed, silent, letting the scene play out the way they always did, waiting to see who would break and who wouldn't. She thought this might be the moment that broke her. She was wrong. Cole's hand found her shoulder first, not to help her up, not yet, but to steady her, to make sure she wasn't seriously hurt before anything else happened. "You good?" he barked, voice cutting through the storm, more command than concern, though something flickered underneath it that sounded almost like worry. Maya didn't answer right away. Her arm was tangled in wire, the barbs hooked into wet fabric, and every small movement sent a fresh sting radiating up to her shoulder. Blood mixed with rain and mud on her cheek, and for one dizzying second, she felt 14 years old again, standing at her father's memorial, wondering if she was strong enough for any of this at all. Then something in her chest hardened. She grabbed the wire herself. Not Cole's hand, the wire, because somewhere beneath the pain and the shock, a colder, steadier voice was speaking to her. The voice she'd built over months of training. "Nobody carries you across this line. You carry yourself." She worked her sleeve free strand by strand, wincing as barbs dragged against skin, refusing to let her breath catch loud enough for anyone to hear it shake. Cole watched her do it. He didn't reach in again. Something in the way she moved told him she didn't want him to. Around them, the other recruits had begun to notice. A murmur passed through the line. Not laughter, not mockery, but the low, electric hush of people realizing they were watching something that mattered. Even the instructors near the floodlights had gone still, one of them lowering his clipboard slightly, watching the girl in the mud instead of writing anything down. Maya's arm came free. Blood ran warm down her wrist, disappearing into the mud almost instantly, swallowed by the storm. Her cheek stung where the wire had caught her, and her whole body screamed at her to stay down, just for a moment, just long enough to catch her breath. She didn't stay down. This was the moment the story could have gone another way. She could have called for the medic stationed near the tower, could have taken the injury as a legitimate reason to fall out, and no one, not Cole, not the instructors, not a single soul on that field, would have blamed her. That was the moral weight of the night, quiet and unspoken. How much pain is too much to push through, and who gets to decide? Was staying down weakness or wisdom? Was pushing forward courage? or recklessness dressed up as pride? Maya didn't have a clean answer. She only had the wire behind her, the mud in front of her, and a promise she'd made at 14 that she wasn't ready to break tonight. She dropped back to her elbows and started crawling. Cole moved beside her, matching her pace, his earlier urgency replaced now by something quieter. A kind of respect he didn't have words for yet. He didn't slow down for her. He didn't speed up either. He simply stayed close, close enough that, if she faltered again, he'd be there before she hit the ground a second time. Neither of them spoke. The rain did the talking, hammering the field, blurring the floodlights into halos, turning the whole course into a churning, breathing thing that seemed determined to swallow every recruit whole. The wire obstacle stretched nearly 40 more meters. Every few feet, Maya felt her torn sleeve catch again, felt fresh stings bloom along her forearm. But she stopped noticing them the way pain stops mattering once it becomes background noise to something larger. Around her, other recruits pushed through their own private storms. Someone gasping for breath to her right, someone else muttering a prayer under theirs to her left. The whole field moved like a single organism, dozens of bodies low in the mud, dragging themselves forward inch by inch beneath wire and rain and floodlight, refusing, all of them, to be the one who stopped. Near the end of the course, Maya's knee caught a root hidden beneath the mud, and she pitched forward, face nearly striking the ground. For one breathless second, gravity had her. Then a hand closed around her collar, not lifting her, not carrying her, just anchoring her, giving her 1/2 second to find her own balance again. Cole's hand. He said nothing. He let go the moment she steadied, and together they kept crawling, side by side, two soldiers who minutes earlier had collided in pain now moving through the storm like they'd trained together their whole lives. When Maya finally cleared the last strand of wire and rose to her feet on the other side, drenched, bleeding, mud-caked from collar to boot, the field around her seemed to exhale. A few recruits nearby broke into quiet, exhausted applause, the kind of applause that isn't loud, isn't showy, but means more than any cheering crowd ever could, because it comes from people who understand exactly what it cost. One of the drill instructors, the older one near the tower, the one whose face rarely moved for anything, gave the smallest nod Maya had ever seen a human being give. It was enough. It was everything. Cole stood beside her, breathing hard, rain sliding off his jaw. Didn't mean to put you through the wire, he said. Finally, quietly, the storm swallowing half his words. Maya looked at the torn sleeve, the blood already washing pale under the rain, and something in her chest loosened, softened, let go of whatever anger had been sitting there since the collision. You didn't put me through it, she said. I got myself through it. He almost smiled. Almost. Because that was the truth of the whole night. The truth underneath the mud and the wire and the floodlights. Nobody drags you across the hardest lines in your life. People can steady you, people can anchor you when your knee gives out, people can even be the reason you fall in the first place. But in the end, every soldier, every person has to be the one who chooses to keep moving. Maya carried that truth with her long after the training ended. Long after the scar on her cheek faded to a thin, pale line she traced sometimes without meaning to, remembering the night she fell into the wire and refused to stay down. Because kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back, sometimes in the shape of a hand steadying your collar in the mud, sometimes in the shape of your own two arms pulling you free. And somewhere on that storm-soaked field, under floodlights that turned rain into falling silver, a girl who once watched her brother cross a stage in dress greens finally understood what her father's flag had always meant. That agility isn't about avoiding the fall. It's about what you do after it. If the story moved you, don't let it end here. Drop a comment telling me which moment hit you hardest. Hit subscribe so you never miss the next one. And share this with someone who needs a reminder that getting back up is its own kind of victory.